Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening. How are you doing today? It's a great day to be here. We are alive and well, and everything is a-okay. Hey, hey, just waiting for people to come on. I will soon take our guest speaker on. Just want to welcome everyone. We are here at our second episode. Second episode. Happy Teachers Travel Show. What is Happy Teachers Travel Show? We are just a group of teachers who want to travel. We are in Jamaica and we just want to travel. How are we going to travel? We are now going to try to see how best we can get second income opportunities and increase our money in our pockets so that we can travel. We can do this by starting our own travel business. If you want to know more about starting your own travel business, all you've got to do is DM me and I will tell you how you can get started with your own travel business. Let me pull this up a bit. Okay, it's going up. All right, so that's who we are, right? We do have a thriving group on Facebook, about 3,000 members, and they're very active there. Thank you guys for joining in. Thank you for joining in. Let me wave to everyone. All right, thank you, Kelise. So we are getting our guest speaker on today. Dum 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 dum. Let's see. Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? Let me look again just to make sure. There she is.
Hi.
Hi, Kelise. How are you doing?
I am good, and how are you?
I am good. I am good. You know, I was just telling everybody that I have a group of teachers, and the teachers all want to start traveling. Like this is their bucket list, right? They have
you're a teacher, right? You are
right, because it's Happy Teachers Travel Show.
Travel, yeah.
So I'm trying to get the teachers to become more independent and to start earning second income, earning US dollars so they can go out and travel. Because all they do is talk, 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 and they never go up on plane yet and go do nothing. Listen now.
Awesome.
So we are here all excited. What I do is I invite people like you to come on and talk about your experiences, to rev up their engines and say, okay, I really need to go do this. People are living my dream. I need to go out there and live my dream too. You get me? Be the star of my own show.
Yes.
So, Miss Kelise, the first thing I want you to do is to introduce yourself to everyone who may not be familiar with you. Go ahead.
So hi guys, my name is Kelise and I'm the CEO and founder of Settle Successful Services. I'm an immigrant in Canada, living in Edmonton, Canada, and I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, born and raised. So I only landed in Canada 2.5 years ago, so I'm a fairly newcomer to Canada, yeah?
Right,
and
right.
I started this company to help persons, mainly from the Caribbean, to settle in Canada with dignity and to settle in Canada without anxiety.
I love that word, dignity. Listen, we're going to talk about it, right? All the things we're going to talk about today, because we've heard stories. We know how the work can be when it comes to immigrants. And that sometimes can be a trigger word for some people. So we're going to talk a little bit about it. But before we get into it, let us ask a few questions just to get the juices flowing. All right. So which countries have you traveled to?
Woo. So in my late teens and most of my 20s, my family literally referred to me as a hippie, right? So I would just like save up my coins and my pennies. I used to sell dresses. I used to sew and sell dresses while I was going to university to be able to afford rent, because I've been living on my own since I was 17 years old, right? To afford rent, groceries, and to travel. That was like my only priorities in life. This is before
You were in college, right? When you said you were living. Okay, yes. I was just wondering. Okay.
So while I was in college, I was living alone, and I would just save up all my money from my business to pay rent, buy food, and travel. That was it. So while I went to college, I went to a very diverse college. So I met persons from all over the world, all over the Caribbean, and I would go home with them.
Which
on
college
Easter.
is that?
I went to the University of the Southern Caribbean. It's in Trinidad and Tobago.
Oh, I do know USC.
USC.
I've been there.
Really?
Yes, I spoke at USC already. Yes.
So I went to that
the very first time I went, I loved it. Small, nice Adventist school, correct?
Adventist school, correct.
That's right.
So I used to go home with persons on their August vacations, Easter vacations, Christmas vacations. Anytime they're going home, I'm like, take me with you, please. Take me with you, right?
That's so like me.
Because of that, I basically traveled the entire Caribbean, sleeping on person's couch. Right? I would go home with persons for the August vacation, sleep on the couch, and just go out and explore. Never like no hotel or anything. So I traveled the entire Caribbean with the exception of Jamaica, entire English-speaking Caribbean, I should say. Been to Venezuela many times as well, but Venezuela is very close to Trinidad, so kind of still consider that home. Right?
Yes.
And I've been to all these states in the US. And then Canada, of course.
And Canada. Okay. All right. Well, listen to me. Your next stop is right here in Jamaica. Oh, we love you. We love you bad. All right. So what are the countries that you found were your favorite, those that you've traveled to? And why?
I particularly find, like, my favorite trip ever was to Guyana. I know, crazy, right? I went to Guyana with a friend of mine. Her name is Michelle. She carried me home with her. She carried me home with her for Christmas vacation. And that was the once and only time I've ever been to Guyana. And I just found that it was so inviting. I was just amazed at how huge Guyana is. And majority of Guyana is not developed. So like
that's
bush,
true. That's
like
true.
Rural, right?
Yeah, like 80% of the entire country is like
it's like
woods
potential.
And trees and
so much untapped potential. I found it was really intriguing that they also have original like First Nations, Aboriginal people in tribes, actually still living in tribes, which was really interesting to me. And then like when they go to the markets, you would literally see people selling gold that they went into the mines and mined for themselves and brought out.
Really?
Guyana has so much gold.
Listen.
So much gold.
I've got to go to
you go to the markets and right next to the fruits, you'll see people selling chunks of gold. I was like, what? This is crazy. This is crazy. Yeah, Guyana was definitely...
That's so...
Guyana was my favorite experience because it was not what I expected. The people were so inviting. I mean, like Caribbean people on the whole tend to be inviting, but I remember like you used to have like these parties in the streets, and like you'll meet somebody in a party, then they'll invite you home the next day. And when you go by them, they have food prepared for you because you said you were coming by them for lunch. They stayed up and they prepared food for you. You know, I found that it was the best vacation I've ever had, and I will always remember my trip to Guyana for that. People were just so warm.
I have a few Guyanese friends, and they are absolutely the best. So big up to all of them.
Yes, big up Guyana.
Which country was the least favorite and why?
Which country was the least favorite? Well, probably numerous times I've been to New York, so I would say probably New York. The first time I went, I really enjoyed it. Big lights, big buildings. Oh my God. But then, like, probably by my 5th visit to New York, I just couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it. I didn't want to be there.
Why? What happened?
I didn't want to be there. I think, honestly, the last time I went to New York, I was pregnant, so probably that played a part.
Oh, okay.
I was early in pregnancy. It was my first trimester.
No, that could have. That did play a part.
I was sick. Yeah. And then also I find that there's so much people, but it feels lonely. Because people seem to be very disconnected.
Right.
So like it's very crowded, full of people, but like if you're following the middle of the street, somebody might just walk over you and continue walking, you know? Yeah. I feel like I like connection with people. I like when I look in your direction, you could at least look back to me and smile. You know? Yeah. Like human connection. So I feel in New York, I feel very disconnected. So I would say probably that's my worst trip, but it could have been the hormones as well. So at least that's pending.
I understand what you mean when you say that. Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
All right. So which place is at the top of your bucket list? The place that you must go before you pass on?
So I actually did a vision board. I'm looking at it right now. And I
Mm-hmm.
did this vision board right before Omicron was starting to play up. Right to the top of my vision board right there, I have South Africa. So, you know, this is really before Omicron started to
Listen.
play. Right? Right. So, South Africa, Egypt, Dubai. I have Jamaica on there as well. Because, I mean, I can't be saying
Come on.
I've been to the Caribbean and not visit Jamaica. Like, oh,
Absolutely.
what's
You
it?
are correct.
Yeah, and then also somewhere in Europe. I find like if I'm done with the US, I live in Canada permanently, so it's home, right? I need to like get
Right.
to that side of the world, get to that
Right.
side of the world, the eastern side of the world a little bit more. Yeah.
Yes. And South Africa is my most favorite country that I've ever been to. Listen, you've got to go there. Beautiful.
I can
All
imagine.
right. So what inspires you to travel? Why were you, as a youngster, just going to different Caribbean islands? What was it about traveling?
To be honest with you, travel is my luxury. Like travel is my definition of luxury. So like a lot of persons,
Right.
every person would have their own definition of making it in life, like making it. So some people
Yes.
the want a mansion, you know, some people the want, I don't know, Gucci and stuff, Ferrari to
Yes,
drive.
yes.
I want to be able to travel without thinking about expenses. That's like my definition of
Okay.
I've made it, you know? I think I've always
Yes.
been that way. I prefer experiences over things any day.
Right.
Like if you buy me a
right.
Gucci belt, I'll be like, okay, this is nice. Buy me a ticket to go somewhere. You would see
Exactly.
completely like, what? I love you for life, right? I love you
Yes,
for life.
yes.
So I prefer
I
experience.
like how you put it, that it's your luxury. And I love that, because I always say travel is luxury,
It is,
right?
yeah.
Travel is luxury.
Mhm.
All right. So let us go right into your business now. Tell us a little bit more about your business. What kind of services do you offer?
So being a newly landed immigrant myself, I'm kind of now phasing out of the time where I can call myself a newcomer. So a newcomer in Canada is someone who's a newly landed immigrant. So it typically spans between the first 2 years of being landed as
Right.
a temporary or permanent resident, right? So I'm 2.5 years, so technically I'm not a newcomer anymore, right? But 2.5 years ago when I landed in Canada, I had a rough time settling. I had a really rough time. My husband and 2 kids, we migrated to Canada through a program called the Federal Skilled Worker through Express Entry, and we landed in Canada as permanent residents, right? And we didn't know anybody in Canada. We did not have any friends, any family, nobody.
So, but okay, so stick up in. Why Canada then? If you didn't know anyone, why did you choose Canada?
Because I was so familiar with the US, and I knew I never wanted to live there. Right? There's one thing I know for sure is that I don't ever want to live there, right? Visit fine, live no. And also the immigration system is one that's not very, they don't really want immigrants, let's be real, right? They don't really want that. They try to discourage the immigration system over there. Is difficult. So when I was doing research on ways to migrate, the only real options were either the UK, Canada, or Australia, right? Even the UK's immigration system is a bit more complicated and complex than Canada. So it was either between Canada and Australia real far. Like, it's just too far. It's a little too far for me. I want to be able to run home if the event of an emergency. Too far from the Caribbean.
Yes.
So that boiled it down to Canada, and because I traveled so much in my life, the thought of like going somewhere new where I knew no one wasn't really that big of a deal. Like, I've been to places where I knew no one. I went to Las Vegas with my little brother, and we didn't know anybody in Las Vegas. Went to Chicago, went to Boston, and we didn't know nobody. You know, once I have an English speaking town, I thought it would have been okay. I could like figure it out, you know.
Yes,
But I was wrong. I was wrong. Like settlement.
So tell me why it was such a struggle for you. And I want to touch on your spouse to see his reaction and his mindset, because one partner can be exciting and ready to go out and be adventurous, and another one might be like, No, we're not doing all of that.
Yeah, he
So
wasn't.
I
He
want to
wasn't about
touch
this
on.
life at all. He was not about this
Well,
life.
there you go.
This entire immigration thing, as he's called it, was all me. It was all my idea. And he wasn't really about this. All right, he had just along for the ride. All right.
Oh, along for the ride. All right. So, but tell me about the struggles first. What did you encounter?
So the first day when we landed in Canada, we landed in Toronto. Then we had to take another flight from Toronto to Calgary. So we actually lived in Calgary when we first landed. And because we knew no one, when we landed there, we had to take public transit from the airport to a hotel, right? And I remember standing up outside. There actually was a bus. So the hotel provided like a bus back and forth. Right. And I was standing up outside. It was 4 degrees, guys. This was the coldest I'd ever been. Now, I spent winter in Texas before, but it had nothing on it. It didn't have nothing on Canada. Texas winter have nothing on Canada. They shouldn't even call it winter, right? So I was standing up outside. It was 4 degrees, and my fingers were like this, like frozen, like this. And I was like, what did I do to myself? And then when we finally got the bus came a bit late, so we were a bit frozen. And my kids at the time were 1 and 3 years old. So they're tired, they're fretty, they're frustrated, everybody crying.
And they're cold.
Yeah, this is like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, right? We got to our hotel, and I had paid for the hotel using my father's credit card when I was back in Trinidad, right? I didn't have a credit card. I never did my entire life before moving to Canada. And apparently, we did not pay the security deposit. So I was like, okay, no problem. I will pay it now. So I took out my purse, took out my money, and I handed it to the clerk. And she was like, oh, sorry, we don't accept cash. We only accept card. And I was like, well, okay, well, you know, you'll have to make an exception. She's like, no, this is a no exception rule. We only hold cards for security deposit. We do not accept cash. And from there, guys, I wouldn't lie to you, I cry now. I stood up there and I cry until a woman take my money. I cry and I bawl until she take my money. She had to make some calls. But
so there's no way they could have.
Because we would have been homeless, so we didn't have nowhere else to go.
Exactly.
We didn't have nobody to call.
And then they see you with the children.
She did not care. She had to call people, and it was just the kind of emotions I was displaying. And the cry wasn't a pretty cry. It was a bawling for my life here. Because I'm tired, right? I'm tired. Take my money. And she took it eventually, but that was how we started our journey in Canada.
Wow.
You know, and actually started a YouTube channel around that same time. I was just talking about like some of the challenges, some good experiences too, mind you. Like it wasn't all bad. Right? So for example, the day after that, we were in the lobby of that same hotel and we were waiting on a taxi to come and take us to our Airbnb, right? And there was a church in that hotel that was taking place in a conference room. Persons from the church started talking to us. They realized that we were newcomers. And eventually, when we did find an apartment, like 2 weeks later, those same members of those church, they gave us all our furniture in our entire apartment.
Aww.
All. TVs.
That's nice.
Toys for the kids, wares, sofa, everything. So it wasn't all bad.
That's nice, yes.
But I started my business because...
So Canadians are truly the friendliest people in the world.
I honestly, just from traveling the Western world, I can tell you they're definitely the most polite. They are definitely the most polite people I've come across. But the settlement phase was just one where I realized there was an opportunity there to serve a market of persons that are not really being addressed, right? Because when you land here as a permanent resident or even a temporary resident, it's like, okay, you'll figure it out, right?
Right.
And you need to figure it out. There's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of unknowns, and just the thought of landing in a strange country with no one to support you is enough to make some people even stop thinking about immigration. It's like, oh, I can't imagine doing it, you know? So I wanted to create,
especially when you have family. If it's you alone and you're single, you're good. But when you have family and kids, it's a lot.
It's a lot of anxiety. So that is actually why I created the company around that concept of kind of breaching or breaking that thought of anxiety. Just knowing that there's someone there waiting to welcome you in and show you the ropes. And not just someone, some random person, no, somebody actually from your culture. So that's why I focus mainly on Caribbean people, because I understand our culture. right?
Right.
So it's like
I was gonna
somebody
ask
from
you, who are your main clients? So it's mainly
Caribbean
from
people.
Caribbean countries,
Yeah,
right?
Caribbean people
And
like
is it
them and me.
English speaking Caribbean countries, or is it just Caribbean countries?
Girl, English speaking, because I can't speak nothing but English. I really wish I could have. I really wish I could have expanded, but I can't do it. I can't do it. Right?
Okay, I get you. I get
Yeah,
you.
so I provide services like airport pickups. I'll be there waiting on you as soon as you come out the doors, not even
That's
before you
good.
exit the airport. I am going to pay for parking. I'm going to come and wait for you as you exit the departure doors.
So you won't send a driver. You yourself will
No,
be there.
I am going to come pick you up. When you come out the door, you're going to see me. I am waiting there for you with a hamper to welcome you to
All
Canada.
right.
Right? And so airport pickup, grocery shopping, like initial grocery shopping if needs be. I'm going to do apartment acquisition, which is a big thing, searching for apartments, document runs. This is a big one that persons kind of underestimate all the time. But it was one of my most stressful things about immigration, like just sourcing your documents. Because remember, you don't have a driver's license. You don't have your SIN number. You can't start a job if you don't have your SIN number. You can't get a phone plan if you don't have your SIN number. Right? You don't have a bank account.
The SIN number is like a social security number,
yes,
right?
It's like a social security number, right? So
for,
like all
for
of
Canada,
these,
right?
you actually have to source all of these little documents in order to make things flow. And there's a particular order in which you need to source them, or else you'll be kind of spinning up in mud. Because when you go to one office, you realize, oh no, you can't do this yet because you have to do that first. And most times immigrants don't have transportation. So there's a lot of money in Ubers, back and forth.
Back and forth.
And
but also public transportation is very good in Canada, right?
It is very good.
Right? Trains, railways, cars,
it's according
taxis,
to which city you land, because I live in Alberta, I live in Edmonton now, and our public transit is it's reliable, yes, but it's not as connected as it should be. So like you may have to take a bus, you may have to walk to the bus stop, take a bus to connect a train. While if you live in, let's say, downtown Toronto, you don't really need a car. You don't need a car. You'll be okay. The public transit is just so efficient, right? So we spent the money, we walked through the streets, we were lost, we did all of these things. Sorry, with 2 young children trying to source our documents. So I definitely wanted to include that in there. And like basically anything that fills the gaps of settlements. Anything that fills those gaps. So moving expenses. We bought a truck, we help persons move. Because you may think about it like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna go stay at an Airbnb and then I'll find an apartment. Okay, but stay at the Airbnb, you probably start collecting and buying stuff. Right? Small stuff. I mean, just to cook, you need stuff. You need salt. Now you start there, you need a strainer, you need a grater, you need a pot. Right? So you start buying stuff within that 2 weeks to a month that's in Airbnb. Now when it's time to leave, you need a truck to leave.
You have all this stuff. Yeah.
Now you need a truck to leave, right?
So, no, go back. You said you bought a truck?
Yeah. Well, a van, a truck. Yeah, pickup truck.
So that's for your business, right?
That's
so your
my business. So
that
that we can transport persons. And then I've even had some families migrate with businesses. So they bring a lot of luggage. So you can't take a taxi.
Right.
Can't take a taxi from the airport, right? So the truck comes in really handy for that.
Yes.
So just pack everything to the back there and we go in, So we do moving, we do city tours, we do everything that the clients would need in order to feel comfortable and to be up and running on their own feet. So I typically work with clients within the first 2 weeks of them landing. I know it seems like a short time, but we can get a lot done in 2 weeks. After you work with me for 2 weeks, you'll be okay to set up your own life and to move forward on your own strengths after that.
Okay. Do you typically talk or hold the client's hand after the 2 weeks? What if the clients are having problems with their documents or things are not moving as fast as they thought it would?
After the 2 weeks, honestly, we're friends,
After the 2 weeks, you become family.
Yeah, it's friends. I call me if anything wrong. If you're stuck at the side of the road, call me. I've had clients call me because, oh my God, I get a first job and they don't know how to fill out tax forms. No problem, we'll go through it together. At that point in time, I don't necessarily see as a client, in other words. I see as a friend. Somebody who's calling me because they're struggling with something. And likewise, I call them when I'm in need of something. So it's now a network. So for example, I've had past clients find jobs for present clients.
I was about to say if you find jobs for people, because sometimes people are going to Canada and because they're not in Canada, they don't know where to look, they don't know how to start handing out resumes, or
So
so that's a part
because
of your services?
yeah, so job hunting as well. But I only work with persons for job hunting once they're in the country. So you have to be here physically first.
Oh, okay.
But in the job hunting, I will carry you around. We will do up your resume. I'll carry you around. We will find a job. Survival job, easy. Easy peasy. We'll find a survival job. Right? But the problem or the challenge is breaking out from survival job into your dream career. So because now I've been starting to form this network of clients who are all settled, they're doing great. They have been promoted. They're doing well in their life, right? They're doing well. It's not so much that they are now coming to return for services, is that we are friends. So they return, they ask me for something, no problem. Sometimes I call them up like, yo, so needs so what you can do for me, girl, And
yes.
everybody helping everybody, which is awesome.
That's good. That's good. I like the fact that you use the word network, because like you said, when you land, you don't have that network.
Yep.
You leave your network at home and you come into a new country. It's a new way of living. It's a new culture sometimes. Even though, yes, it's an English-speaking country.
Completely new culture.
And even though it's in the Western world, it's still a new culture. I think people mistake that. They think that, okay, if I'm moving to the US, I'm moving to Canada, it won't be that much different.
No, Canadian culture is definitely...
we're so close, but can you tell us then, since you're saying it's a completely different culture, what are the little differences that are in Canadian culture as opposed to the Caribbean culture that people can look, understand and be mindful of before they take that plunge?
I think in Caribbean culture, we have a different sense of humor. Let's start there, right? Let's start there. And I think this is like one of the major shockers that Caribbean people face when they land in Canada. Canadians do not have our sense of humor. Do not try to make jokes to these people. They will not understand. They will be very much offended by the jokes that we will make.
Yes, the way we talk too, because we can be a bit loud and
it might seem aggressive. Yeah, it might seem aggressive.
I wanted to say, but I didn't want to say it.
I always say that Canadians are very polite, but they're not necessarily very friendly. There's a very kind of awkward, passive-aggressive kind of nature that they have, but they're very polite, and they really appreciate respect. So they will respect you. They will give you your own space. Caribbean people are very friendly, but not necessarily very polite. Right? Very friendly, but not necessarily very polite. So there's a culture gap there, but it's easy to adjust. You may have a couple awkward situations at first, but nothing that would make your heart broken, right? Our sense of humor as well tends to be very vulgar, right? Canadian sense of humor is more quirky. The things they laugh at is like, oh, ha, yeah, okay. Okay, that was funny, okay.
Are they more reserved?
They are. They are definitely more reserved. Like what I've found is that the typical Canadian person, they have their friends from college or high school, and that's it. They'll be polite to you, but they don't necessarily want any new friends. That's their circle. That's it.
And they continue with that circle for the rest of their lives.
They have 5 friends and they're not really interested in meeting anybody new. They'll be polite to you. They'll have conversations with you, but they won't want to, they're not trying to make a new friend. In other words, they're not going through life like, hey, I'm open to friendships. No. So it's very hard to kind of get intimately close with them because they're kind of reserved in that way. Not impossible, because I have Canadian friends, but you find that Caribbean people are way more open-minded towards, I could have 100 acquaintances. There's no overload of acquaintances. You know what I mean? Like, there's no overload.
Yes, I know. I understand.
But that's like a major culture gap as well that I noticed, as well as they have a lot of respect for diversity. A lot more than we do in the Caribbean, unfortunately. A lot more. Right? So diversity is very big here. And I appreciate that. I appreciate the inclusivity because I don't want anybody discriminating against me. So in the same way I don't want anybody to discriminate against me, I must be open-minded to understand that other persons also don't want to be discriminated against. Right? So they're big on that. And those are the major cultural differences.
So question before we move on. So a conservative Caribbean person, how would that person now settle in Canada, being that they are a bit more on the conservative side, and Canada is a bit more maybe liberal, or they believe, as you say, in diversity, in inclusion? How would that Caribbean person be able to navigate those waters when they get there?
That's a good question. And I've had many conservative clients. Conservative doesn't necessarily mean that you are opposed to everyone having equal rights.
Right.
Right?
That's true.
So you can be
That's
conservative
true.
and have your own beliefs and maintain your own beliefs, but still be a part of the bigger belief of the society, the cultural
Right.
norm here, which is everyone has equal rights. So once someone
Right.
is not infringing on your personal rights or endangering you or your family, then yo, live your life.
Okay.
Live your life and let people live the life.
Love it,
And
love it,
honestly,
love it.
people here, they are not nosy. They don't pay too much attention to what the
Caribbean
neighbors
people
doing.
nosy, you know. In
Yes, that's the
Jamaica, we say,
problem.
oh no, nuffy, nuff,
If you
nuff,
didn't know
nuff.
the people business, you would never
In
opinion
a people
about it.
business.
Right? Don't find people business. Just focus on your own business.
Yes,
So I think
Caribbean
that somebody
people
who's
love people
conservative
business.
could adapt and settle very well. Just real
Okay.
a team. Focus on what you do.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly.
Focus on what you
All
do.
right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good one. All right. So I want to now touch on your spouse. Just give, because there are many persons who have families, spouse, children, etc. They want to take that step. However, they're being held back, not physically, but just mentally
Yeah.
held back because the spouse is saying they don't want to do that. Maybe they're the more adventurous one. The spouse is not willing to take risks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to talk a little bit more about your spouse and why he decided to go along with, like you said, on the ride with you?
Mm-hmm.
And what tips can you now give to someone who has a spouse that is just needs a bit more convincing? What can they do?
That's a good question, because I know a lot of persons personally they struggle with this, right?
Yes.
This is actually a big hindrance to a lot of persons' dreams and goals of immigration, right?
Yes.
The spouse not on that.
And it causes tension in the marriage
It
because
does.
sometimes one spouse says, well, if we had done this, we would have reached further. You didn't want to move, and we're still stuck here. We're in debt here, yada, yada, yada. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
So
that's a good question. I don't think there's a straightforward answer, but I would start by explaining how it works in my marriage, right? So
not too much, just enough.
I would tell her the real deal. I'll tell you. I've always been.
Hold on. I see she look around there. Look around there. See if he's around
to make sure he's not here. He probably only like watching me like, girl. Don't tell him too much, you know. My husband met me being very adventurous. All right, so let's start there. He knew what he was getting into. Kelly's always up to something, can't sit still.
Yes.
Always doing something. I was thinking out the box, I was jumping in something, right? So he knew what he was getting into. So I would definitely say that my husband is very supportive. That may not be the case in every case, but my husband's very supportive. So when I met my husband, he had never left Trinidad and Tobago. Never had a passport, never left Trinidad and Tobago. He was good. He was just happy, chilling, working, doing it day to day. He was okay, right? Man was okay, living his life. He was living his best life, right? I met him, me travel, Kelise, was like, do I have a passport? No. This can't work. Look at that passport, right? And then we take little trips in the Caribbean and stuff. And then one day I came home to him and I was like, what do you think about Canada? He's like, I hear Canada, real cool. I was like, okay. In my mind, okay, that wasn't a complete no. It was just a minor objection, which we could overcome.
Right. Like a little open door.
Yeah, like, that's a minor objection, So I started working on it. I went and I started doing my research. I started making moves. And then next thing as conversation I had with him was, we need to go to Venezuela to do we have to do a test in order as part of the immigration. So like, we need to go to Venezuela to do this test. He's like, what is this for? I was like, immigration. Remember I told you about Canada the other day? He's like, you mean the other day when you tell me what I feel about Canada?
So you went right at it. Yes, that
time. Remember that time?
You tricked the man. You tricked the man.
I did. Because I just didn't want any objection. And not to mention, it was still a plan. It wasn't a reality just yet. It was just something I was working on the side in the background, right?
Yes.
Seeing how it goes, seeing how it unfolds. And I just didn't want, oh my God, how are we going to do this? How are we going to find jobs? Right? I didn't want how are we going to live? I wasn't thinking that far yet. I was just going through the process, right? So we went with me. We went through the language test. And honestly, it was at no point in time did he ever say, I don't want to make this move. At no point in time. He just was always like, Kelly is kind of cool. Kelly is okay. He trusted me to find a way. And because of that, I also felt a lot of pressure on myself. So like when we did land and moments when things wasn't working out, he would just watch at me and I know exactly what he's thinking. This woman, what she get me into? This woman, and we had, within these past 2.5 years, we have had plenty moments of triumph and then plenty moments of, this is not working out. Plenty moments where you watch at me and I know what he's thinking and I feel like, oh my God, the world going to crumble beneath me. And moments like that, I feel like if the world could just open up and swallow me, I would take it. Because I feel like I'll disappoint my family. I feel so overwhelmed and disappointed in myself. And then there are moments where it's like, oh my God, I feel so proud of what we have done. And so it has not been easy. And to the person that not as fortunate as I am, right? To have a supportive spouse who will just go down a rocky road with you. I would say communication is key, but at the same time, I don't want to give a little false hope. Sometimes you need to start moving and working on it and for your spouse to see that you're really serious about it before they give you an honest opinion. A lot of the times, these initial opinions is really just because they don't think it's a reality. Because in the past, you said you're going to do things, but you didn't actually do it. So they're giving your opinion like, you're not actually going to do that, I know into that. That look like if we're going to lose money, right? So sometimes you need to start moving and working and actually for them to see, okay, things actually unfold them before they actually come and put pen to paper like, okay, if we're doing this, these are my conditions and that is where you get them. Because now it's a conversation. Now it's a, how do you call it? A give and take.
Yes.
Now it's a give and take. So they may have conditions like, okay, if we do this, I need to come home every year for Carnival. Or if we do this, I need to make sure I know what industry I'm going into. I don't want to just leave my good paying job. If we do this, I need to know where we live in. Right? It's now we're talking a give and take. So I think that's where you have them. Once you're at that stage, you have them. Because now you could start to negotiate. That's what I'm looking for.
Right.
But before then, a lot of the times, when your spouse giving you pushback, it is because they don't really think what you're doing is going to amount to anything. So a lot of times we confuse that with them being against the idea. Most of the times when your spouse is giving you pushback is really because they just don't see that what you're doing going to make sense. Because they never know anybody else from your country who do it. They know plenty.
And like your husband, he's never traveled. And when you're talking to people that's never traveled, it's like they cannot imagine what you're talking about because they've never traveled.
And then immigration scams are very big in the Caribbean. So everybody knows somebody who has been scammed. So a lot of the times when their spouse is giving them a pushback, they may not necessarily come and say, hey, girl, I don't trust your judgment. And I don't think that what you're doing is actually legitimate. They won't say that. But what they will quicker say is, nah, girl, Canada, I good here. I don't live in my home country. But what it actually translates into is, I don't really actually think this is a reality for us. And I think like you're wasting time.
All right. So I want to go to the viewers' question. Somebody's saying, I think that's Anita Love. Hey, Anita, what if it is you don't have any spouse? It's just like a single adult with 2 children.
I had a client like that who landed about 3-4 months ago, single mom, 2 kids. So yeah, it's possible. It is definitely possible.
Is it a little harder? A little rougher?
Yes and no. Because if you have a spouse that's really not cooperative, like really, they're really not cooperative. Like they're really not like it's not that they're giving some pushback, but they're really not cooperative. I think that could be equally hard as doing it alone. You know what I mean? So it's really about your unique situation. When you're doing it alone, you'd have to consult anybody with your decisions.
True.
Right? But you also have nobody to fall back on when the decisions fall through.
That's right.
So you need to be extra cautious now that you're making the right decisions because you have nobody to double check you. A spouse acts as a filter.
Right.
Right? Especially if you're the person in the relationship that always have the big ideas. Your spouse, as much as you might think, them though, this, that, they do that, they are acting as a filter, being genius. Oh, am I frozen? Okay, I think you're frozen, right? So I think it's possible, and I wouldn't necessarily say it is harder doing it alone. It really depends on your personality.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's some good advice. Thanks, Anita, for that question. Guys, remember, you can ask questions. Say hi to us. Say hi. Say, so loving all the questions being asked and to have what clarity makes it feels doable. Yeah. Yes, that's what. Kiki, sexy truth. Hey, Kiki. Yeah, when you get this kind of information, when you hear from somebody who's been there, done that, it makes it feel like it actually can be done, you know? It doesn't make it seem impossible. I'm not seeing the comments
on my end, so you have to read them out.
Oh, you are not?
No. It's something Instagram does. It glitches a little bit. So.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Anita says, how would that work? I'm not sure what, Anita, when you say how would that work, are you still talking about the single adult and 2 kids scenario? So if you are, then Kelise could probably answer that. If she's a single adult and she has 2 kids, what would her steps be like? She would have to approach you. Would she have to? I wanted to ask you this question, and that is joining. It will dovetail with what Anita is asking. Is it that you only deal with people when they land in Canada, or do you have some form of advice, hand-holding session with them before they arrive? What if there are people right now in Trinidad, Jamaica, Guyana, they want to come, but maybe they don't know where to start? Can they contact you even before they land? Yeah, so that's a good question. Because of COVID come and just rock everybody to the core, including the immigration, IRCC immigration system in Canada was rocked to its core. It was pushed to its limits. And a lot of things have been changing up recently. And a lot of persons were kind of stuck as well during COVID. Even persons who had gotten approval for immigration were stuck because they couldn't travel and sometimes their documents expired, right? So I had come to this point where I had clients who were planning to come but stuck in their home country, and probably programs changed up. They needed more information that I just couldn't give to them at the time because I didn't really know what was going on with COVID. So in that phase of my business, I started this referral program, right? So the referral program is where we brought on immigration consultants who I trust, because, you know, not all immigration consultants are made the same, right? So immigration consultants who I trust, who I've had clients work with, who I've had reviews of, who I've surveyed my clients with to make sure that, okay, they actually, yes, to make sure they're actually getting good results and sound information. So I brought in some consultants and I started this referral program. So if you go to my page, you go to the link in my bio, you can click on that and see which programs you're eligible for by booking a call. So there are over 80 different streams of immigration. 80 different ways to enter. 80, I know. It has so much options that honestly just saying, well, I have 2 kids and I'm a single person, it's like saying I'm a human being. It's actually saying nothing, right? It's saying nothing. Right.
So the consultant's job is to go through your unique qualifications and to look at all of the possible options for you and give it back to you. And then you now have to make an educated decision. I also wrote a book. So I wrote a workbook, an ebook for persons who were in the waiting. The name of the book is The Waiting, which is basically the period where you're in your home country still and you're planning to migrate. So it's filled of budgeting activities, career projections, resume templates, everything, settlement activities. It's 80 plus pages of activities. And then we went one step further and we created a group, a private group called The Village. So the village is nearing 200 persons. That's only been created 4 months now. And it is the persons who are currently going through their immigration application and for past clients who have already landed in Canada. So it's a
Okay.
support group for persons like that. But you get access to it if you purchase my book or if you book that consultation through my link. So you can go ahead and see what your options are.
Okay, that's great. That's good information that you just gave for persons who are thinking about it and might need a little bit more advice and a little bit more hand holding throughout. Sashikai, hi Sashikai, says my husband and I with a 1-year-old child, we want to go tomorrow. Sashika, yes, go tomorrow. Anita is asking, is the school route the only route? You said that there are 80 streams, right? So you
the
don't
school
have to
route is
only
not
take
the
that
only
one.
route. It is not. All right. But what I would say is in this past couple months, there have been so many changes to immigration. Some programs closed off, some pilot programs became permanent. They actually stopped doing draws. So the way that I came to, which is the federal skilled worker, that particular stream, they have said that they're not going to have any more draws for that until they have done with their backlog. So they have had this huge backlog during COVID. So they're
Because
currently
of
trying
Corona,
to,
right?
yeah, because of COVID. So like there's so much happening. There's so much happening that a lot of persons in this climate have turned to the student route as like the sure route. You know, because everything else seems to be just so, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. It's so tense. But what I would encourage you to do before committing yourself to one particular route is to book that call with immigration consultants. Because even in the student route, some options to be determined because of your work history. It's kind of complicated because there's so many different options you're talking about. But there's something called a knock, which is basically the government giving you a code based on your work history. Right? And there's something called PNPs, which is provincial nomination programs, when provinces, which is what we call states here in Canada, your provinces, they will nominate you based on your work history if they have a demand for that particular knock. Yeah, and then you have even particular cities. So, for example, I lived for 6 months in this small town, 3,000 or 4,000 people in the town, and I met a Jamaican living there. And she got a
Jamaicans
PNP.
are everywhere. I mean,
but she was living a bit out of the town. We were the only black people living in the town. She was living like right outside the town, right? And she was working at a fast food restaurant. And she got nominated, not provincially, but by that city because they needed fast food restaurant workers. Imagine that. Now, imagine that. Right? So you might think, wait, boy, I don't have a university degree, blah, 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 blah. These people get in provincial nomination just from things that you may not know because you didn't have access to information. Right? So even if you're thinking about the student route, I would still advise you have a consultation to determine where's the best place to go and study. Where's the most likely place that you will get nominated after you study. Because once you're studying, you're a temporary resident. You're not a permanent resident. The aim is to become a permanent resident and then shortly after to become a citizen of Canada.
All right. How long after you've gotten your permanent residency will you be able to get the citizenship?
So within a 5-year period, so your permanent resident status lasts for 5 years, and then you could renew it after. So you could renew it and renew it and renew it. I know people who live in Canada for 30 plus years who are still permanent residents. They just never decide to take the final step to become a citizen, right? But within 5 years, if you stay within the country for 3 years out of those 5 years, it doesn't have to be consecutive. So you could come for 3 months, then leave, then come back for 6 months, then leave, right? But once it accumulates to 3 years, you can become a citizen. You can apply, do your tests, and you become a citizen. So, for example, next year, I would become a citizen.
All the members of the family become citizens.
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody. Okay.
Everybody.
That's good. All right. So Sashika is also asking, would the school route or the work permit be a good option? I think you mentioned that it just depends, right? Everybody's really different, Sashika. So you need to just go onto Kelise's bio and click and get a consultation with her.
Yeah, to see what your unique options are.
Exactly. And for everyone that's on right up there, just click on that arrow right here, and then you will see my Instagram page, Kelise's Instagram page. Follow us now.
Yep.
Kelise will be giving a lot of consultations to people for people who want to go to Canada. And for me, follow me because I do this every week where we talk about traveling, We talk to different people in different areas about how traveling can help you. And if you want to get into the travel business, hey, this is the place to be. Follow us now. Let me go through. Hi, everyone. Jamel. Hi to all the village members.
That's so nice. I can't see the comments, guys, but I know I'll hear.
What's the first step to migrate to Canada? Somebody's asking. Let me see. Palos.
What's the
Palos
first
says
step?
Shotsman. Palos says Shotsman. What's the first step to migrate to Canada?
Ooh, I love this question. I would say the first step is making sure you're actually ready to start this journey, mentally ready. So the process of immigration, for those of you who are on here who currently going through it, I know they can attest to this. It is a mental marathon. It's not for the faint of heart. It's not for people who easily quit. All right? It's not for people who are stubborn. I have to admit, this is my struggle in life. We in Trinidad, we call it something called bad mind. I know in Jamaica, it's a different term. In Jamaica, bad mind means...
Bad mind, listen to me.
Bad mind in Jamaica means like jealousy or, you know?
Yes, but what bad mind means for you?
But in Trinidad, we also make it to mean like a kind of stubborn determination.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I don't...
Our bad mind is straight jealousy.
No, it's not that. So I have real bad mind. If you tell me I can't do something, myself, I double it down. I double it down and I'm doing it just to show you I can do it. Like real grit. Right? So I know about that, and I will tell you the immigration journey is not one for the faint of heart. So I think the first step, or the first thing you should do when you're thinking about immigration is know that it's not an overnight process.
Yes.
It is one where you have to go through a couple steps, you have to do a couple of things, you may have to do some research. Right? If you don't like to read, that's a big problem. Right? You may have to do some research and ask some questions, book some course, some consultants. Like it's a marathon. It is a marathon. So mentally prepare yourself for that. And then secondly, I would say to book that corporate immigration consultants and see what options you have available. If it is even an option for you. Right. You know, but getting your mentality right is where I would start. Like, see if it's really something you want, or is it because your neighbor do it? Is it because your neighbor do it? Or is it that you actually have a need or want to live in a new country? Yes. You know? Because if it's just because your neighbor do it, you probably might give up along the way. Okay. You know?
All right. Well, so you need to find your own reason, your own internal motivation for doing this. Because when the going there gets tough, you need to know why. Why are you still at it? Yep. All right, let me go through. I have one or two more questions before we sign off, but I just wanted to get everybody. Aspect Trading Concepts High says if you are confused or overwhelmed, book a consultation. Ooh. Looking just to see. The same one says many options, location, job, everything. Right. So how do you know where to go in Canada? Canada is such a big place.
It is.
If I'm planning to go,
that's a good question.
Where do I start regarding that?
Okay, that's a really good. Thank you, Ningwise. That person you're talking to there, her name is Sam. Hey, Sam. Thank you for a great question. So, because we were planning to land as permanent residents, that meant we had our picking. We could have lived anywhere we wanted, right? We were not nominated by a particular province. We didn't have to go there. We didn't have to go to school or anything like that. We just landed. We could have landed anywhere, like hot potatoes in Canada, right? We chose Alberta because of the lifestyle I wanted to live, right? I had two young kids. I wanted suburban, safe, simple, laid-back lifestyle with access to big city living as well. So I wanted the Costco, the Walmart. Well, most cities in Canada have that, even in rural cities. So I'm not going to say that. But I wanted like nightlife, adventure, if I wanted to, but I wanted like seclusion and safety and family as well. So that is why I chose Alberta, because of lifestyle. And in my book, The Waiting, there's a whole activity on how to choose your province. Because it's not just that. You need to consider job opportunities. Where is your job in demand?
Right.
You need to consider competition for jobs. So an area where your job is in demand, but there's limited or low competition, right? You need to also consider lifestyle, like, okay, big city, small city, right? It's a lot to consider when choosing a school. And of course, if you're coming to a PNP, there's the way how you consider where in Canada you're going to land is by booking the consultant, and she will tell you, we're going to take you. So wherever take you is where you're going to live, right?
Really? So you have no choice?
Wherever take you is where you're going. Whoever nominates you, that's where you would go. You have a choice, of course. Wow. But when you're doing immigration, you're open-minded to go anywhere. Who nominates you first? And you have to stay there for a limited amount of time too. It's not like you're tied down there for the rest of your life. Right?
Right.
So I would say that there's some people that are going to particular provinces because those are the provinces that nominated them. There's some people that are going to study in particular provinces because those are the provinces that are most likely to nominate them once they're finished studying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of other factors at play there. But the reason why we chose Alberta is for those reasons. And then I actually wanted to move. I did not want to live in Alberta. I landed here and I said I would just stay here for 2 years, and then after I got moved to Toronto because that's Canada, right?
Right.
And then
Toronto has a lot of competition.
It does. It's a big city. There's a lot of jobs, a lot of competition. The cost of living is high, but that's where it's at. All right. And I thought that honestly, after 2 years of working in Alberta, because Alberta is known for oil and gas, they pay well here. The cost of living is relatively low. Not the lowest, but definitely a lot lower than Alberta, than Ontario or BC. They're like the two highest or most expensive places to live, right? So Alberta is considerably low in comparison. So I thought that by working here with the high salaries and the low cost of living, we would have been able to save up enough money to then move to Ontario and buy a house. Because I always said I had a house back in Trinidad. I wasn't leaving something for nothing. You know what I mean? It's like, okay,
yes, I understand.
I know I'm starting from scratch, but I'm leaving something and I want something to show for it. Right? And in my mind, that something to show for it was a house. Right? To me, my mind, a house represents stability. And it's really interesting because I had a season 1 that just concluded on Friday of the Unwind session. And I was interviewing this girl from Trinidad, and she had a completely different opinion about buying a house. She was not interested at all.
Really?
Right? She wasn't interested at all, and her opinion and her perspective was so refreshing to know that, okay, Kelise, okay, your way is not the only way. Right? But again, bad mind. I had my mind set on a house, and I had nothing and nobody that was coming in between that. Right? So I wanted to move, and I wanted to go and buy a house in Toronto. When I did go to Toronto and I looked at the prices of houses, I came right back to Alberta and I said, no, we're staying here. And we bought a house here, and we moved from Calgary to Edmonton. We bought a house, and that was it. We doubled down. So this is home. This is home, you know? So, but a lot goes into, and we moved around a lot. So we moved from Calgary to Claresholm, back to Calgary, then to Edmonton. All of those times we moved, there was finding new places to live, finding new jobs. Right, and this was in the space.
Why were you moving? Was it because of different jobs?
Different jobs, and it was mainly because we just were trying to find ourselves. You know, remember, we have no family to keep us anchored. It's not like we go into this city because we know somebody there. No. So it's like we can live anywhere.
Right.
So we were just trying to, like, that first year, 2 years of us landing was really about us just trying to get a feel for, okay, do we want to live here? Is this where we want to raise our family? Like, is there better? Yes. So we lived in a small town. We loved it. The only reason we left this small town is because we both lost our jobs during COVID. Got laid off.
Yeah.
Right? So it wasn't easy. It had some trialing periods.
Which industry do you work in?
Right now, I'm a full-time entrepreneur.
Okay. Which industry did you used to work in?
I worked in the cannabis industry.
Oh, cannabis. Wow. But that's a growing industry.
It is. A lot of opportunity.
A growing industry.
A lot of opportunity. So while
especially Jamaicans, them. Listen up.
I know, it's the strangest thing. My husband, my husband works in construction. So he's good with his hands. He does a little bit of everything. So he's easy to find jobs for in Alberta because it's very, like, you know, that kind of hands-on approach, and they get paid well in construction. Anything to do with hands-on trade things get paid well.
Yes.
But me working in cannabis was good. It was really good, you know. But again, with COVID, everything being just as fragile as it was, we both got laid off. And that's the reason we moved back to Calgary. And at that point in time, he wants to buy a house. I know we just got laid off and he wants to buy a house.
Right.
That's
where the faith comes in. You
yeah,
step out in faith.
Boy just got laid off and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna buy a house. Right? We'll buy a house because I said so, right? Bad man again.
That's right.
And yeah, within months we bought a house. I got another job. Right. We moved to Edmonton. My husband got a job. We get it down payments and we bought a house. So right. It really is one where you need to have a lot of endurance. And
that's where I'm gonna ask for you to give some tips on for persons staying motivated, because immigration can be a daunting process. It's long, it's grueling. Some people, as you say, sometimes you give up, sometimes you feel distressed, disappointed, discouraged, especially if you don't have somebody supporting the decision. So give me some tips for persons going through that, to stick the course. And
firstly, I would like to say, don't tell persons who don't need to know. Right? You don't need other people out in your business. And these people aren't professionals, so they're not going to give you some advice anyway. Right?
That's true.
All they're going to give you...
All them are going to do a chatter business. Yes, I know.
And all they're going to give you is their fear and their anxiety. Right? Their fear and their anxiety. When I decided I wanted to migrate, I told my mom, I told my brother, and my father. Right? All three of them gave me very negative responses. None of them didn't think it was real. This was a scam. They was like, look, she going again on something. Right? Now my
brother, also come from the fact that they don't want you to go.
They don't want me to go. They don't want me to get hurt. They don't want me to fail. Right? It's a protective instinct as well as a level of disbelief. Right? Now my brother lives here with his wife and daughter. Yeah.
Wait.
My husband and I, we purchased a rental property. He rents out my rental property. He with his wife and his daughter. My mother lives here. She's right upstairs watching TV with my husband.
What?
Just last night I was talking to my father. My father preparing. We have CXC. You have CXC too in Jamaica?
Yes, we do.
Right, yeah. So I have two younger brothers, stepbrothers. They are preparing to write CXC. My father, all right, so they're writing CXC. He wants to figure out now how to make a transition for them to come to school here.
Come up, yeah.
Right?
See what I'm talking about?
Right.
All so because you first took that step out.
The screw up, the face, the laugh at me, the all kind of things. I supposed to remind them. Every chance I say, remember when they laugh at me? My brother didn't want to let me car when I sell my car. So look at you. That's you, But I would say try to limit the amount of people you're telling it to. Yes. Tell only people who need to know. And my mother really needed to know because she was a huge support system for me. As much as she didn't believe me, right? She still was my support system. And she helped me out a lot financially as well when I was making the move. I didn't do it alone, right?
Yes.
So, but try to limit the friends and the auntie and the uncle and the neighbor. Don't share them. That's the number one thing to stay motivated. The second thing I would say is to be realistic with your timelines. Book that call with the immigration consultant and get a realistic idea of how soon you can land in Canada. And for some people, they don't necessarily need to land tomorrow. They actually need time. They need time to wrap up. They need time to sell the house and all these different things. So get a plan, get a strategy. It makes you a lot more motivated when you know what your next steps are. Just fishing in the dark. Right? When you know that, okay, it is actually going to take 3 months. You're not just like sitting down there, how long does time take, boy, every single day watching the clock. I know it's going to take 3 months, right? And then the third thing I would say is to use your time while you're waiting to plan your new life, which is why I created the book, The Waiting, right? Use that time to plan, like what you're going to do, what kind of job you're going to get, how you're going to do it, like literally map it out, a roadmap of immigration. Use that time while you're in the waiting to do that. Also use that time to appreciate what it is you have right now. I was tell persons when I left Trinidad, I was just so relieved to get out. So relieved. It was like, whoop, I go and bye, right? And I did not get to say goodbye to some very crucial people. 3 of them are now dead.
Oh, no.
3 of them are now dead. Like, understand when you leave in your home country, leaving back your family, your friends, godparents, grandparents, right? So as much as you may get demotivated, understand that this is your time to wrap things up, not just financial things, business things, also relationships. Make amends, say goodbye, hug people a little extra tight, because you never know if you'll get the opportunity to see them again.
That's so true.
You know, so those are my three tips.
You touch on a very true point, because I remember when I was living abroad, every time the phone rang and I saw it was somebody calling from my home or from my family, because I'm thinking, what am I going to hear? Is it that somebody passed away? I always had that fear that I'm going to hear that my mom or dad or somebody, you know, it's that thing that is always in your mind, because that's your worst fear, to be far away from home and hear that a loved one has passed away.
But it's a reality for immigrants, right? It's a reality. It is something that you're giving up. It's not just, okay, I'm going for a new life and, you know, everything going to be rosy. No, it's a sacrifice.
Yes,
it's a sacrifice. And just yesterday or day before, when I was doing a live, someone in the comments mentioned it, but I didn't, like, I read it, but I didn't process it until earlier on today. They were saying that immigration is really for your second and third generation. Now, I don't really feel so, because I live in my best life, right? You're about to go South Africa next year. I do this for me, right?
Yes.
But it is true to some extent that my children will reap the rewards of my sacrifice. And their children will reap that reward tenfold, you know?
Absolutely.
So don't be afraid to make the sacrifice, because that's the only way you get the reward as well.
Wonderful. I'm going to wrap up this session now with one last question. You mentioned that some people have transitioned to Canada with their businesses. How did they do so? And if someone has a business, I know an online business is an easier transition than a physical business. But how can people make that transition?
So this is a fairly easy thing to do, but it could also be very complicated according to how you land in Canada, what status you land under. So if you're thinking about like starting an official business, like a registered business, each province has their own rules, but for the most part, they prefer that you be a permanent resident in order to do that. So like register business, pay taxes, all on your own at least, right? There are ways for temporary residents to do it, but just know that there's some hurdles to that. Now, if you're thinking about just like a side hustle, which you're going to include like a sole proprietorship, you're going to include it on like your own personal taxes, you're not going to incorporate it or anything like that. It's fairly easy. Like if you're a hairdresser, the girl set up your thing in the basement, do your thing, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you can do your own thing. And most people in the Caribbean have those type of businesses, like service-based businesses, where come by me and I'll do something for you. Right? As I'm doing something for you. Even myself, I do have a service-based business. Look at it.
Yes.
I'm doing something for you. So I think that is like the type of business we are comfortable with for the most part. And those businesses are fairly easy to transition. I've had some clients do it and some are struggling to do it. And I would tell you the major issue where the struggle comes in is just about your ability to manage your time, manage yourself, manage this whole influx of new information, decision making, as well as manage a business. That's hard.
It is.
That is hard. When I landed my first year in Canada, I did not have a brain cell to say hello to nobody. All my brain cells were focusing on survival. There's a lot of information being pushed at you. You have a lot of decisions to make. You're transitioning to the new weather, right? Your children go to new schools. There's a lot of new. Too much new overload. To also think about transition and starting up a business can be a challenge within that time. But what I would say is after 2 years of settling and going through the most and buying a house and moving around and doing all of those things, when I finally was actually settled, it was a lot easier for me to focus and pivot into, okay, business mode, which is what I knew from back in my home country. I always had a business, right? So sometimes it's about giving yourself that grace to settle and then prioritizing. So like the business is important, but food is more important.
True.
Making sure your children are emotionally stable is more important. Right? So it's really about priorities, time management, and also managing your mental health as well. Because it might just be like, oh, I jumped into myself, I'm going to live in Canada. But it's a lot of new things to process. And we can't forget the toll it can take on your mental health as well. So give yourself some grace. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
All right, guys. So let me just look quickly again. Someone Aspect Trading Concept says it's recommended you stay 2 years if you are nominated for the or via the PNP.
Yep.
So that it does not affect your citizenship later on. All right. Oh, and my student is here. Hi, Sharon. Sharon says, I don't understand anything, but teacher Vanessa, I love you. She's my student from Colombia. Hi, Sharon. Her English is very good, but I guess because we're speaking fast and stuff like that, she's not getting everything. But that's okay. Thanks for tuning in, Sharon. All right, guys. So thank you. Thank you, everyone who dropped by, who came in, who stayed, and even dip in and dip out again. It's okay. We still love you. Thank you, guys, for coming. If you want to hear more about the Canadian Immigration Services that Kelise has, you can always listen or go back to this recording, and then you can always listen again and get the information. But to wrap up, there you have it, that arrow right there. Click on that arrow right now. Follow Kelise, follow me. Kelise will give you all the information that you need in settling in Canada. And I will give you all the information you need about traveling, because when you go to Canada, you're going to be traveling. Now, what you can do is start a travel business. I was getting Kelise on board, but Kelise is a handful. But what we're going to do is we're going to start a travel business for persons who love to travel and want to go all around the world. Travel business it's just blowing up in Jamaica. Everybody is on stream now. So if you're interested, you can DM me and then we can have a chat about starting your own travel business. Any last minute words or any last words for our viewers, Kelise?
Yeah, I just want to say, guys, remember, this is like my mantra. The journey is the prize. It really is the prize. Like, not just because something is looking grim today, it could switch like that tomorrow. Opportunities could just manifest itself. Sometimes you're hacking away at something and you feel like if you're just hacking away at a brick wall, and then whap, the opportunity manifests itself, right? So I just want to tell persons to keep pushing, keep striving, and just don't give up. If it's something you honestly want to do, not your neighbor, he ain't jealous of your neighbor and just trying to tackle away your neighbor do. It's something you have for yourself, you trying to write your own destiny in this direction. Keep hacking away at it, keep connecting with persons who are on your same wavelengths. And yeah, just remember the journey is a prize.
Okay, Raki was asking, is there a hard copy of the book?
No, it's only only an ebook. Only an ebook because I mean everybody internationally, the shipping costs more than the book.
But what they can do is they can print it. So if you want to
print it, exactly.
You can print the ebook.
And when you buy the ebook, you also get access to the Waiting Hub. So the Waiting Hub, I should have mentioned this before, it's actually a library. Every month in the village, we have village meetings. Yes. We invite professionals to come and talk to us about all kind of topics. We had a career coach come and talk to us about finding a first job in Canada. We had a therapist come and talk to us about mental health in Canada. We had a mortgage broker come and talk to us about buying your first home in Canada. It's a lot. So we actually recorded those sessions and you get access to the replays as well. And you also get access to the village. So go ahead and purchase the book. And yeah.
You purchase the book and then you book a consultation and you get access to the village?
Either one. You purchase the book or you book a consultation. You could do either one, you get access to the village.
Or both.
Yeah.
Or both, guys. And I would suggest you do both because you purchase the book, but you still need that consultation. You still need that one-on-one guidance. All right? Mm-hmm. So Kelise is right there. I am Venice Irving. And this is us just giving you advice, giving you tips, wanting to help you live a better life. That's it, 2022, better life. 2022, we're not living from paycheck to paycheck anymore. 2022, we are traveling. We are going for our dreams. We are going to be the star of our own show. There you go. All right. Thank you so much, Kelise. Love you, love you, love you, my Trini sister. And I will definitely be sending my clients because the love of my teacher, them when one go to Canada. That's all they talk about. Canada. So definitely I will what I'll do is I will download this recording and put it in my group on Facebook
Awesome.
with my teachers, and then they can contact you. All right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You take care, guys. Have a beautiful rest of the evening and enjoy the rest of your year. Blessings. Remember to follow us, okay? Bye. Bye, Kelise. Thank you.